kind of deleted it out and so like, oh, publicity. So let me see where Michael is. Let me try to invite him again. Here we go. Hinzufügen. Michael.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
It's all right. How are you holding up?
Yeah, well, it's a very strange situation. Last week we decided in the studio to, together with the team, to simply work from home, those who could, and those who can't just get paid for having a leave temporarily. Mm-hmm. So I'm alone in the studio at the moment.
Yeah, with us we are fading out day by day. We're still getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's, I mean, you live in the studio right now, right?
Yes. So everyone is working from home, and the studio is my home. So I'm working from home as well.
I think also it can be that this is a very, I would say, productive time too, no? I mean, like...
You definitely have time to reflect on things that you might not think upon in your stressy daily life, and your routines are broken up, definitely. So, yeah, I mean, you revalue a lot of things, a lot of things in your life, and you also get around.
Give me 1 second. I want to switch on my.
You also get the chance to play around with stuff in a more disorganized way than normally, where you can sit and sketch and play around with ideas. So fortunately, we have a lot of things that are already planned far out in the future.
Oh, I'm losing you.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm here
now it's better. Yeah,
everything that is planned for the near future has, of course, been rescheduled. But we are also working on exhibitions that are in 21 and in 22. So we haven't given up hope completely. It's a tough time It's a tough time for everyone, and therefore I think it's really also a test for the art world. How solidaric are we in this situation? How do we treat each other? How do we treat the people who help us? How do we stick together in a way so we survive together and come through this with everything in a good way?
I mean, I also find it very exciting because it's like, I don't know, a completely new situation. And of course it's dramatic, but it's also, I don't know, I kind of, as if it's a challenge. I kind of pled to that we all should try to stick to our commitments as much as possible. And if we all do that, it should be rather fine. I'm starting to be a bit disappointed by bigger corporations that they are not so, because I mean they can more than others. Anyway, so maybe I try to make this not so much about the like more positive thrive. So maybe shall we look at the works here in the viewing room first, or shall we look a bit at the studio?
Yeah, I think I need to get it uses a lot of energy to do this. I think I need to reload the phone.
Okay, then why don't you stick in and I walk around here a bit, and we look at maybe the earliest piece we have of you guys here, and maybe for the audience who doesn't know, Michael is the 50% of Elmgreen Dragset, which is an artist duo. Let me see if I can flip this around, which which exists since 25 years. And we were planning to do a show, which we definitely going to do, but maybe we're not going to do it for Gallery Weekend because they just canceled Gallery Weekend, even though it was only a gallery tour, so to speak, like the dinners and so on were anyway postponed. And but so you guys are an artist duo for 25 years, Danish and Norwegian, but in Berlin since almost ever, right?
Yeah, since 95 we met each other in 94, and then we started working together in 95.
Yeah.
So that is by now 25 years.
And so here's a work which is maybe one of the most recent works, but I thought it's a good connection because it deals with Berlin on a extremely smart way. This is a limited edition which is related to a big sculpture you did for our Art Basel presentation, I think 2 years ago, which Heiner Wemhöhner donated to the Hamburger Bahnhof Museum, which is actually, I think everybody can go and see it now in real.
It's in the garden. If they
it's in the garden, right?
If they hadn't locked up the garden, then they can. You can go and see it there. Yeah.
And here it's also we made it our cover motive for the 30-year anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall, and I mean, there's so much to see in this work. You know, it's also a lot of people got kind of upset about it, which I think is always a good sign. If there's how you say, like a certain, if it polarizes.
It's one of the pieces that has triggered a bit of debate, but I think a lot of people also understand that if they live in Berlin, the situation of after the unification, of course, it was a big challenge, but of course it was also there's been a development where Berlin has been much more driven by money and gentrification and more kind of a different kind of urban structure than when we moved to Berlin in 97. And that's part of many cities' development. But what we say with the piece is also, well, you got the right maybe to have a cash machine in your neighborhood, but it's not really sure that you would get a credit card with money on it.
Yeah, I remember when I came to Berlin, I became a KaDeWe member because this was the only way to get a credit card. A credit card without a debit report, you know?
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah.
But I also see in this work that it's kind of Berlin markets. It's like painful tourism. You know, it's like all the most visited place is the Typographie des Terror. It's like Stasi Museum, Gestapo, the wall as a. So there's a certain twist and turn that the touristic attractions are kind of saddened, no?
Exactly. Like the history has become a bit of a Disneyland for Berlin. It has become entertainment. It was very saying that it took us very long time to find a piece of the wall that would only have that would be without the graffiti on, because most of the pieces of the wall that had the graffiti on, the graffiti was done after the wall went down, actually, because on the east side of Berlin, of the wall, of course you couldn't do any graffiti. So it's kind of also a fake identity of the history that people think, oh, I got a piece of this graffitied wall from East Germany. Well, no, there wasn't any graffiti on the wall at that time.
Actually, I have a kind of, this is a here you see Inga Dragset trying out the printout on the wall. And I have actually kind of a hilarious story to tell about this because this wall we put in Basel got a lot of attention, and I also reached out to some friends like Joko Winterscheid and others to because it's such a strong iconic image, you know, so like everybody recognizes this, what became a symbol, and you see it all over the world in people's garden and so on. And also there's one I just visited one right opposite LA Mocha, no, Lakpa. And exactly, they painted on both sides, which is kind of transports the wrong image. And then, what's his name? The guy from Tokyo Hotel, who is Heidi Klum's husband now, he asked me if I could help get him a wall to give it to her. But of course, please without the ATM. So anyway, which is also kind of funny to say is that we did this when we showed it at Art Basel. We had to bring it in because of course it's so heavy, and we had to put it on a pillar, and then they built the art fair around it. It was very generous of them to be so flexible with us. And I'm very happy that it's in Berlin now, and thanks also on this place to Heiner Bemhühner who gifted it to all of us, and that also it's in Berlin and kind of like questioning how we deal with our own city. And then we published this limited edition with a Handelsblatt, which I think is also kind of funny because it's a business magazine, and of course this idea of, I don't know, capitalism overcoming socialism. Yeah, there's always so much to read in your works, and maybe this is a moment to walk over to this one here.
I mean, for the wall, we of course love the absurdity of bringing it to Basel in order to bring it back to Berlin. Yeah, that's something we are big fans of.
Yeah. And this one here is it's a lifesaving. Oh, what's important is to mention is that the sculpture is titled Statue of Liberty, which I think also is so on point because it's there were these big discussions. Also, a great text in our magazine is by Norbert Bisky's brother Jens Bisky about the male identification of the man in the East. But the fall of the Berlin Wall, for example, I had interesting discussions with politicians about it. The wall just didn't fall. It was like kicked in by the people of East Berlin. So to have this, it's also so funny to have the Statue of Liberty, that the wall as a image of division becomes like a symbol. You know, it's like the worst symbol you can have for freedom.
Yeah. And now the Statue of Liberty, which is very unusual, is closed down for the audience. I think they should have closed it down when Trump became president.
Yeah. So this one here is a lifesaver, but in fact it's not really.
It won't save you very much because it's carved in marble. So would you throw it out in the lake or the sea, then it would go directly to the bottom. Normally, you try to integrate these life-saving bells in a discreet way by swimming pools or like where you have to have them, but people are normally not so happy about having them around because they become old and dirty and not so decorative. And we like these kind of objects that are kind of the ugly kids in the corner that no one really likes to talk about normally, and then make them into precious artworks.
This is also how we installed it here. It's like where
exactly.
where also where the fire how you call it, the Feuerlöscher is. Notausgang, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So you see here.
Yeah, but it will maybe help if there's a fire breaking out.
And then this I think is a really interesting work. So it's a bronze on an elevated pedestal, and then the figure is kind of wearing normcore socks of some
Umbro.
Yeah. And it's a bit dirty, right?
Yeah, it's called dirty socks.
Yeah.
We often like to dress our bronze sculptures. We have made a series of works called Golden Maids, and we have made different sculptures that we have put real clothing items on. Here it is the dirty socks. The image is inspired by a photo that has to do with the crisis that we experience now from the AIDS epidemic in New York. It's a photo by Pierre Schucher of a guy lying on the piers. Having a bit of relaxing time in the sun and taking a break from all the misery. And then the photo angle is so you only see his legs like this.
Okay.
This is a cast of my boyfriend's body, so he's quite slim. And then we have put the legs in the same position as this Peter Schucher photo. I mean,
actually, I'm wearing this hoodie we did for König souvenir. Is this also his waist? Because there's a pair to there's a sister to the sculpture.
Yeah, there's a torso also that we made in painted aluminium, and then we photographed it and put it as a photo on the sweatshirt. But I think you're sold out of them, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm not promoting.
No.
I'm just wondering, is this sculpture, the other one, also related to this photograph?
No. This is triggered by Peter Schucher's photo, and then a free interpretation of it. And then it's also a bit our own little take of a figurative Brancusi with the almost abstract human form, and then putting the low material, the Umbro socks, on the sculpture. We like to use this kind of noble material and then put something that is really basic, everyday item on it, and often something that doesn't reflect any kind of high social status. These are brands that are relatively trashy, that we use ourselves in our everyday life.
And related to this AIDS crisis, I think I listened to a podcast which was really, I have to check that out what it was exactly, but it was so intense. One of like a gay activist artist described his experiences in the 80s, that like half of his community died.
Yeah.
And they were just wiped out, you know, the whole, like half the street, the whole community in Soho, they just died, and the which was of course we know, but imagine you are in a community, and then all your friends die. I mean, it's like so. So we solved this. So we're also going to solve this Corona stuff. So anyway,
definitely. I'm old enough to have experienced that crisis and being traumatized by it, and being in a situation where I lost friends as well. I so definitely hope that I will not lose any friends because of this second epidemic.
Yeah. So often, because I guess because you guys are apart, you were a couple for a long time, and then I think you aren't anymore since 10 years.
Yeah, we were a couple for 10 years, and we haven't been a couple for 15 years. So actually,
years.
we have been working together more time without being a couple.
That's hilarious, because our show was planned. I mean, it still will be the first solo show since 15 years in Berlin. So it will be like an anniversary breakup show.
Almost, also, yeah. Well, it's more like the 25 years of us working together as professional partners.
Or 15, exactly.
or 15 years breaking up, yeah. Which was very healthy for our working relationship, because we had become this kind of old couple who were arguing who should go and open the door to the grocery store downstairs, you know. And it was very refreshing.
So this work, I'm losing you now. So this work is titled Marriage.
A different way.
There was a
yes.
So this work is titled Marriage, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, it's true. And that has to do with us breaking up. So it's like around 15 years old almost. It's a little younger than that. But yeah, marriages in a good way is like two things that are interlooped by some curly tubes. When you flush in one end, the dirty water comes up in the other end.
I saw an interesting
marriage.
I saw an interesting comment yesterday under this picture when I posted it, that someone said, I'm not so sure if that works outside the white cube institutional critique kind of context. This is how I read that comment. Because often, how do you feel about it? Do you think it needs like a white wall?
No. I think it can survive I mean, you could install it in a bathroom as well. We have a functioning version of it, a different version of it, on permanent display as a loan to them at the Hayward Gallery in their bathrooms, and that is in the men's rooms.
I also think that this work in particular is more about the relationship between the two things than about the art space as in other works of yours, right?
I would never ever demand to have a white wall behind my works. And
why has one a soap and the other one doesn't?
Well, there's no relationship that is completely equal. The only kind of the only perfect pairs existing in the world is Felix Gonzalez. Equal pairs.
This is okay. This also a bit flies with it. Yeah, amazing. Okay, so then maybe we look at this book for a second, which is a book published by Hatje Krantz, if I'm wrong. Yeah, Hatje Krantz, on your National Sculpture Center show, which this piece actually was on loan in, and. This is a project we should talk about a little bit, which is Prada Mafa, and this was, I joined you guys visiting it, and it was the first time you've been there since its inauguration. Is that right?
Yeah, as you experienced, it's not an easy place to come to, even though, like so many people have started to go to Mafa. But you have to fly into either Midlands or El Paso, and then it's a long drive from there. So, well, if you would go from Berlin, you would probably use 1.5 days, 2 days to reach there. So it's not just a around the corner destination, and For us, it was very emotional to come back after 14 years and experiencing the work again. The beauty of the desert is that it hasn't changed, so everything around it looked exactly the same. The desert looked the same, and the shop looked the same. So it was almost being caught in time, coming back. The locals had arranged an opening with Mexican food and music to surprise us. And that was exactly how it was when we opened it now 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit about it. How I mean, it became like a world hit. It's like it's been in The Simpsons. It's like, because I don't know how many people know, but in Marfa, Donald Judd moved to Marfa in the 80s, I think. And also because there was steel working and there was a train going there. So he was able to produce his, oh, here we are. He was able to produce his metal objects there, and also started the Cinetti Foundation, where he invited pairs, friends to exhibit their projects, like land art projects or also light and space projects. So here you see but now I would say that Prada Marfa is got way more famous than Cinetti Foundation, and Marfa.
We are not in competition, so
no, of course not. No, and but the reason you went there is because of it, no, and of the ballroom Marfa.
Actually, our first idea was to place it in Nevada, just because the sound of it, Prada Nevada, sounded good. But the casino owners or the porn industry of Nevada wasn't really so interested in high fashion, so we didn't get a lot of land. Then we met the fantastic girls behind Art Production Fund, and they had connections to Martha, and then we were like, that is even more amazing because the Donald Judd Foundation is there. And of course, if you look at the interior of shops like the Prada shops, the box shelving systems that they have in their shops, they couldn't be without having been inspired by Donald Judd's legacy. Mm. So for us, it made a lot of sense to place it there.
But it's also kind of a window shop. It's like it's window shopping also in that sense that it kind of shows how many people are excluded and not, because nobody can ever access the store. And very important, I think, to mention is this project is not a Prada project. It's independent from Prada. Prada was kind enough to give you the goods, but they did not pay for the project, right?
No, that was our own, but we wrote to them and asked, are you going to sue us? And they were very sweet and wrote back, no. The shop is very democratic because everyone can only window shop. It's not for the few, it's for the people who is willing to take the long trip, just to stand in front of a little Prada shop in the middle of the desert and look through the windows and then continue.
Yeah, and interesting is also that how did it evolve? When you did it, there was no Instagram, there was no social media at all. Because now it becomes really a destination of people go there making a selfie only for the sake of making a selfie, right?
Yeah, we were 35 people at the opening, and most of them were local ranchers who were nice to us, but shook their head and were like kind of, I don't really know what this is about, but it looks pretty, so it's okay. And that was what happened then, and we thought it would be forever forgotten. And then Facebook started to take off, and Instagram happened, and then it was included in different sitcoms and latest.
Oh, yes. Which one was it? A Galerie Girl? No.
Gossip Girls.
Gossip Girls. Yeah.
I must admit, I have never seen it.
For me neither, but for me, what was very interesting, it was very ambivalent feeling be there and stand in front. It was a bit like my experience when I first saw Marcel Duchamp's urinal, where I have like, you know, all these like this charged object, which has such an amazing. So for those who don't know, Marcel Duchamp, 100 years ago, he took a urinal into the museum and declared it a sculpture, in short, and then that changed art history. And then you see this urinal, it is so profound, you know. So it's like, yeah, interesting. So maybe we take some questions. Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Good.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Anyone there? I have very little battery left, and I can't charge. I realize when I have the headphones on. So if I'm suddenly gone and off, it's not because I'm rude or insulted.
Oh, I hope people could hear us. I can't hear you. That's bad. Can you see this? Because for me, it's very big. I can't see the end of the question.
Regarding Prada Martha, would you consider context, example, Instagram, and it being shown on the Sims? Yeah, I mean, like, Prada Martha has taken off its own destiny due to Instagram, what we just spoke about. It was not meant for being Instagram, because Instagram didn't exist when it was done, but due to Instagram and other social media, it took on its own destiny. I like when artworks that Inga and I do suddenly take control themselves, because we are pretty much control freaks, and it's quite beautiful when the works take over and go their own way.
Cool. Then let me see. This is kind of a good one. We know each other for quite some time, but the real time we got to know each other is when you guys won the Preis der Nationalgalerie, and I crashed at your house after your celebration party.
Yes. How old were you? 13 or 12?
No, I looked 13, 12, but I was like 21 or something. You guys were living on Münchstraße.
Something like that. But even before that, you had come to our installation in Porticus.
Porticus with my dog, with my blind dog running over the
really annoying dog pixeling around on our installation. And at that time, you must have been 12.
Is it in the book?
No, it's not a sculpture, it's an installation.
It's an installation. Okay, this is only sculptures. Okay. So, but what they did is they built a curve. It's a fantastic piece. They built a curve of the space, and then the ceiling were going down. And it was really like,
the space had contracted somehow.
Yeah, like this. And I think in the first idea you were planning a spiral, which you didn't do then, which I think was very good. One of the powerless structures, I think, no?
No.
Then,
we have known Johan quite a while before we started working together. Actually, 10 years before, or something like that. 15 years before.
Why Prada, anyways?
Well, Prada at that time was the talk of the town at biennials. People would speak more about their new Prada shoes than the artworks on the wall. It would also be the favorite outfit for many dealers, because the fantastic thing is that you look very discreet. Like if you're upper class, you can look middle class. If you're middle class, you can look upper class in Prada. And therefore, it was a preferred uniform for gallerists at art fairs. So for us, I mean, Prada was so closely connected to the perception of the boom of the art market and the art scene as such. And then, of course, they are also later been more directly involved in the art world with the Prada Foundation and sponsoring a lot of art. But for us at that time, it was because it was the favorite dress code for art professionals.
But I think also because Prada had a certain dominance other than others, because the style was a bit like Jill Sander and Helmut Lang, but then Prada was way more aggressive in, I think, buying up these brands and somehow were like early on in the whole globalization of style, maybe. And this is
it was also much more variable, even if you would buy the avant-garde stuff, because Helmut Lang would have adding a cock ring to the leather jacket, or the skinny jeans would be so skinny that most of the dealers we work with at least couldn't wear them. So
you should see me trying to get on a Hinsley man pants. But the best ones are the ones where Helmut put the these painters jeans, which I back then thought way before Demna. I thought like it's so cynical because which painter at that time would be able to afford such an expensive pants? The Prada products changed every season.
No, the products in the shop is from 2005. Yeah,
and that's hilarious to see because it's so 90s. I find they look like 90s to me.
But it's quite beautiful because that collection was actually fitting with the colors in the desert, all kind of dusty, beige, brownish, umbra, very natural colors, which was perfect for us at the location.
Okay, this one maybe. Yeah, Dilemma Sculpture in Eckeberg Park. That's a good one. Can you talk about Dilemma Sculpture at Eckeberg Park?
Yeah, recently, in the recent years, we have done a lot of public outdoor sculptures, and we enjoy that very much. It reaches a different kind of audience than the people who go to the gallery, maybe, or the
Uh-oh. I think connection is off. So I assume that his battery died. This is a very interesting question. I would have loved to hear. Oh, you don't hear me? No, okay. So see you tomorrow at 10. Bye.